Guys, I don't even know how to start this. Like, this is a lot. So you've all heard, and this is how we just have to start the video because like it's the thing that everybody's talking about. Daria Usacheva fractured her hip. A hip fracture is what I've been seeing all over the internet. I haven't seen it confirmed, but it's basically what it is. And if you don't know, it happened during the 6-minute warm-up before the ladies event. And the way that it happened is just she just fell on a jump that she's done a million times, that she's probably fell on a million times as well. So she was obviously injured beforehand for her to get a freaking hip fracture from a fall like that, or from a jump, or wherever she got injured. You just don't get that from a bad jump or fall. That is an injury that is built on through time. She was injured previously, she did not rest, she was overtrained. That is the only explanation for a 15-year-old to get a hip fracture. And I saw a lot of people downplaying it, being like, it's not like she broke her leg, she just had a bad fall. A hip fracture on a 15-year-old. And yes, I understand that it is sport, but I've always said that I'm afraid these girls are gonna crumble in front of my eyes. I think even at the beginner's guide video I said that I was afraid that was gonna happen, but I'd never genuinely expected it to happen like this. Like, this is the first time we've seen a Tutberitsa girl break in front of our eyes. We've heard about it. We've seen, the Instagram post when Shobakova fractured her toe. Trusova just kind of disappeared from the internet with her injury, but we know that she is injured on doctor's recommendations that the federation has talked about. But this is the first time we saw it. And yes, sport comes with injury, but not at this level. Yes, this season there's been a lot of injuries, Rika, Yuzuru, but the amount of injuries that are coming out of Team Tutberitsa, there has to be a common denominator there, and it's the fact that they're all from Team Tutberitsa. And it's not like, if this was the first time this was happening, it's not like people were shouting a Terry expiration date back when it was happening to Medvedev. No, that wasn't a thing, but now we have seen history repeat itself again and again and again and again. And when are we gonna start putting people on accountability? And I've seen a lot of people being like, it's not Beritsa's fault, she's not the person to blame when athletes get injured. And they're not the only person to blame. The judges are also to blame because they keep encouraging this. You do not push a child to those limits if you do not get the rewards from the judges. The judges keep rewarding Team Tutberitsa for this bad technique and these crazy quads that are done by young girls. And fine, give them a score that a quad deserves, but then properly score them over their bad technique and over their lack of artistic ability, even though for Daria that is not the case. But for Trusova, you should also give them what is the correct scoring. Like, I don't know how else to say this. Like, everybody has been encouraging this, and then when somebody gets injured, they're just like, it's sport. You are expected to get into this type of injuries. Like, you can't blame this on a coach or on a technique or on a camp. But also, the reason why I'm mad is not just because I do think history is repeating itself and everybody's just letting it happen, from the judges to the federation to the team itself. But the reaction from the coaches was very odd. And maybe they were just not hoping not to escalate the situation. But also, this is a child who was in very much pain. She wasn't even able to walk. Like, she got to the side of the rink on a single foot. The other one was dragging, the one where her hip was fractured. And nobody was giving her, like, the sympathy that I think she deserved. It felt very cold. And I know it's an ice skating rink. I understand the pun. But it felt cold. Something about it was wrong. Also, if you hear, like, a little, like, in the background, it's because my heater is going off right now, and we're just gonna have to deal with it. And now it sounds like it's farting, but I'm saying very important things, so try to focus. What a horrible timing. I'm so sorry, you guys. But yes, like, I don't really know what else to say besides the things I've been saying for over a year now, which is, I am scared for these children's bodies. These injuries, they are not covered by the federation. These injuries can become life-term things, and I hope sometimes that they think long-term about their bodies that they're going to have to live with after they turn 18, after they are no longer a high-level skater. Thankfully, Daria is young enough that she can recover, hopefully in time, to still be a high-level skater. But is she still going to be needed? Because they got young girls ready to jump a quad and hoping to jump a freaking quintuple, if that is even possible, because their bodies can at that age, and they want to reach new levels, and Tutberitsa wants to reach new levels. And I know I'm ranting at this point, but nothing is being done, and the blame is always put on the skater, and the problem is just pushed aside later on because there is going to be a younger girl. This is not going to be the last time, mark my words, this is not going to be the last time we see a Tutberitsa skater break in front of our eyes, because there is always a younger girl who's ready to take the place, and we can only go so hard on these skaters, these children. And the judges are not disencouraging the coaches from pushing children to the limit. It's too much. And now thinking back to how freaking Gleich was talking about how Kostornaya wouldn't work as hard as the other ones, maybe Kostornaya had the right idea, because the other ones are breaking apart. Maybe Kostornaya's like, listen, I'm 18, I already got bad knees, I don't need to be going 125% unless it's a competition because I see what happens to these other girls. Maybe Kostornaya has a plan. I don't know. All I know is that nobody is really treating it like the chronic issue, the perpetual issue that it is. It is not going away. It is not the first time that we see it, and it's not going to be the last. And nobody's kind of freaked out about that. Everybody's just kind of either defending Tutberitsa or shitting on Tutberitsa, but nobody's really kind of talking about the issue here, that it's just bigger than Team Tutberitsa. It's, first of all, a dangerous sport. Second of all, the judges encourage this specific camp to keep doing what they're doing because they don't get hurt where it hurts them, which is the scoring. And the only way that they can properly tell these coaches to stop pushing their kids to the limit is by scoring them correctly when they have bad technique, or when they are not as artistic. Like, if you're going to do a quad, okay, but we need to score you correctly. And the fact that this child was obviously injured beforehand, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was the freaking dance teacher that was like, well, she needs to learn to stop skating when she's in pain. What do you mean she needs to learn? You know for a fact that if she did anything but go to 125% during practice sessions, she was going to be either shit-talked in the media like Kostornaya, or she was not going to be a contender for the Olympics, which she already isn't because there are 5 other girls who are pushing themselves to the limit. 2 of them, Sherbakova already had an injury, and Trusova currently injured. So what was she supposed to do? What was she meant to do? But do this. Because her environment was not telling her to do anything other than prioritize competition over her body. And that is what I'm trying to tell you. We need to have an environment where kids are taught that your body that you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life comes first rather than competition. Because competition is not going to pay the bills if you end up with a long-term chronic injury. A hip fracture at 15 should not be happening to anyone. And I understand that figure skating is a dangerous sport, but your body should not be that broken down at 15. And if there are measures to prevent it from getting to that point, it should be taken. But they are definitely not being taken. And that is where my anger and my frustration comes. Because it's almost like I called it into action. I posted a damn video talking about how it's a house of cards that is crumbling and every Tutberitsa girl is just seconds away from breaking apart, and then that literally happens. So I feel bad. I feel like I somehow called it into existence, and the fact that I know this is not the end of it, far from it. Maybe after the Olympics will be the end of a Terry domination, but it's not going to be the end of a Terry. No, that woman is not going down. That camp is not going anywhere. And like I said, there is younger girls ready to take the place. And don't forget about the boys. Terry Breaks Boys is still very real. We have not seen a high-level male skater from Tutberitsa because they also break. It just doesn't have as much media coverage. And that's the other thing. This is the ones that we see. Imagine all the ones in the figure skating rink, in their training camp, that we don't see. Another thing with Daria's hip fracture is that Aliona actually posted a little statement while I was looking at Daria's Instagram to see if she had posted anything, to say what exactly it is that she got injured or what exactly it was that she injured or anything, just to calm the fans. While there has been no official response from Daria on her Instagram, Kostornaya sent her a message of support on Instagram while releasing the last few photos of her photo shoot, which I have named Shut Up Gleich, You Balding Man, because I should stop mentioning that he's balding, because the fact this photo shoot was released at the same time that she was fighting in the press with Gleichenhaus is so iconic. I can't even get into it. But while releasing the last few pictures of her iconic photo shoot, the Shut Up Gleich photo shoot, she also thought it would be the appropriate time and place to deliver a message of support for Daria, and it says, athletes are not robots, not machines, They are the same people who can get sick and have some kind of injury. Elite sports have nothing to do with health, but this does not mean that an athlete's career should end after an injury. Not at all. I believe that injuries help to understand what exactly you want to do next. So I just want to wish at Daria Usacheva a speedy recovery. Heart. Queen behavior, and also I think the fact that she said any of this means that she is in the inside of that camp. So this was more layered than just giving words of support for Daria Usacheva. This was also making a statement of, I see the buffoonery that goes on in this camp. I see the clownery of the comments that say that this is sport and you should expect injury from the sport. That's not Tutberidze's fault. The fact that people, when they're young and invincible, call them, used to call them like these little robots, these machines that cannot fail because they were so consistent when they were young little 15-year-olds. Those are the same people that then turn around and when they get injured at 18 because their body has gone through it, are the same people that are commenting, oh, there you go, blaming the camp for everything. This is sport. Where was that, robot comment, machine comment? Now it's not their body that's amazing. It's the camp. When it's good, it's Tutberidze's doing, but when it's bad, it's definitely not Tutberidze's doing. So I think she was calling out the hypocrisy of those, Tutberidze stan bots, whatever you want to call them. But also the words that Danny G said to her about not putting enough effort during training and doing more at competitions than every day at the rink. I think it was more of that. I think a lot of the dispute between her and Team Tutberidze is, among other things, but one of the things is also the fact that they do push so hard for repetition. They've said it countless times. Zhenya has said it countless times that realistically, your body will just not withstand after a certain age at the Tutberidze camp. Alina has talked about how repetition is key of success in Team Tutberidze and how they repeat everything until it is clean, even if you're tired, even if you're injured, whatever it might be. Throughout the years, Team Tutberidze themselves have said that is the key. There is no secret. It's just repetition. And so when people want to deny that is one of the main reasons why these girls break apart at a certain age, it's frustrating. So the statement was not just words of support, it was also a little manifesto and explanation to all the press that they are people too, and if injuries can be prevented, they should be. And it's too much. It gets me agitated. So you know what? Let's just jump into NHK because I think I have said all that I need to say. First, let's start with the men. I'm not going to be talking about dance and pairs because honestly I didn't watch it because I wasn't interested. I did see Daisuke Takahashi. I don't even know the name of his pair, but their costumes and their energy, amazing. And that's all I really have to say about dance. In Paris, I guess I should mention briefly that the only other Tutberidze team here, Tarasov and Morozov, ended up second to Mishina and Galiamov. And I mean, that's what I thought. I thought they were the second best team out there. Their inconsistencies haven't really proven them to be the best in the world, but still, it is a win for Team Tutberidze because this is literally their first pairs. But Mishina and Galiamov still have the edge over them, and I'm sure that's driving Tutberidze crazy. The men, Shoma Uno came freaking through. He was landing everything, and he looked amazing while doing it because I think we all need to admit that he has the best male costumes, in my opinion. And I don't know if it is the fact that his costumes are so amazing, but his programs are really growing on me. Like, there is something about the programs that now feel very Olympic. Even the janky bolero is like giving it to me. His performance of it, his dramatics of it, something is telling me that he's really gonna have a moment at the Olympics if he's consistent and if he can perform like he did here. Maybe it was the hometown advantage of being in Japan, but I'm just so happy that when he shows us what he can do, it's undeniable. But he doesn't always do that. It's a Mikhail Kolyoda situation, Kolyoda and Shoma have kind of the same issues. Meanwhile, with Mikhail it's more mental, but with Shoma it's a little bit more of just, I don't think it's mental, I don't really know what it is. He's our disaster child and we love him regardless. But yeah, his costumes maybe were the key ingredient for me liking his programs. It's kind of like with Twice, how we didn't really like the feels until we saw the dance, and now the dance makes us love the song. That's a little K-pop reference for any of you Twice stans, any of you once out there. But mostly with Shoma, I'm just happy he really has found this coaching dynamic that works for him. Like, him and Lambiel really seem to have a special connection. He seems to work well under him, and just seeing them just supporting each other, even though I know that's what a coach is supposed to do, but just seeing Shoma kind of flourish under his wing has made me really happy. Then we need to go to our second place, Vincent Zhou. He is my new fave boy, and he sadly could not recreate what happened at Skate America in all his glory, although that is very, very hard to recreate, regardless of whatever competition he's competing at. Recreating Skate America is going to be really hard, and just the magic that he had at that competition. He was good in the short, and I still enjoy the fact that he has a short program with his namesake Vincent. But in the free, after that first jump which he popped, he just kind of faltered a lot. He had a lot of difficulty exiting out of his jumps, and maybe he was just mentally spooked after, because you know in Japan those skating competitions are packed, like at capacity, those stadiums. So maybe the pressure was too much for him and people expected him. You know, a lot of people were kind of looking to see how he would do after he did so well in Skate America, and he did fine. I mean, he ended up second place, but it definitely wasn't a performance to remember. Then we have my baby, the love of my heart. I really need to stop. There's the love of my life, Jania, the light of my life, Kaori, and now we have the love of my heart. I don't really know what to do anymore. I have a lot of space in my heart, I guess. But June looked great. His short program is still amazing to me. Like, I love it so much. His free, I'm learning to love. His costumes are still great, and he's still falling in the free, which leads me to believe that he would definitely be the man who would not be on the podium if Yuzuru was performing here, because as we all remember, Yuzuru is not here, Yuzuru is not here, Trusova is not here, and Rika Kihira is not here. And if Yuzuru was competing at this competition, definitely one of these men would not be on the podium, and that is definitely June. But on the bright side, the fact that he keeps tripping at the end of his programs and then he's grinning like a cute little puppy brings me a lot of joy. So that's fun. Now moving on to ladies. Let's do the other way around. Let's start from the bottom. First, we have the American ladies, Amber Glenn, who ended up 7th. She struggled in the free, and honestly, even if she had a solid performance, she wouldn't be in contention for the Olympics. Like, I have accepted that the second love of my life is just not going to be there, simply because the competition is too intense. Because, like, even if she was given stable, consistent performances, the only way she would be in consideration would be if she had a solid, and I mean solid, consistent triple axel, which again, like I said before, is a lot to ask for an Olympic season. So her not performing well just makes it even more obvious that there is no way she's getting to the Olympics. But you know what, Amber, you're still the second love of my life, and I swear to God, your TikToks are doing more for popularizing and creating interest in the sport than anything else. So keep doing what you're doing. Then we had Alyssa Liu, who ended up 4th, and she fell on the triple axel in the short, but honestly it doesn't really matter because Alyssa Liu is still the #1 US lady, and she's definitely going to be at the Olympics. So, like, to me, she's doing what she needs to do. She doesn't need to win every competition, she just needs to stay consistent and still be the #1, which she is doing. Her programs still don't do it for me. Her dresses do. Let's see if the Shoma Ono effect takes effect on me and her dresses make me like her programs more, but I doubt it. Then we had Young Yu, Korean, our second Korean taking bronze, which is kind of funny because both in the men's and the ladies, we had a Korean bronze medalist, and then we had a Japanese winner, which I think was really kind of funny. Interesting pattern. And sadly, she was unable to land her triple axel in the short or the long, and much like Vincent, was unable to recreate that Skate America magic, but she was still solid enough to leave with a bronze medal, which, again, Young Yu is just proving herself to be a consistent skater for the Korean Federation. And if she gets that triple axel stable as well, I mean, she would be a force to be reckoned with. It's always like the potential that makes you be like, oh, if you just could get this one thing, but whatever. Then we had our silver medalist for the ladies, Mana Kawabe, which to me is still a very new face. Like, this is like the second time I'm looking at her, and she did land her triple axel in the short, and that was enough to give her, you know, that competitive edge. She was not able to land it in the free, but still, she has amazing talent. She has a beautiful triple axel, which she did land in the free, in the short. And something about her makes me think that we need to look out for her. Like, she is gonna be a rising star. I don't think the 2022 Beijing Olympics will be like the moment for her, but after the season after that, I feel like she will become one of the face of Japanese ladies. So I think Mana Kawabe is a talent, and the silver medal was deserved. Also, her white dress is gorgeous. I honestly was like, this is beautiful. Ladies, in Japan is where it's at for the dresses. That's all I'm gonna say. And then we had the light of my life, Kaori Sakamoto, given a solid performance in both the short and the free, taking home the gold. And I don't think I can put into words how much this girl gives me joy, like the happiness that she makes me feel. There is an energy to her that I just love, and the Federation obviously loves her. To me, Kaori is a shoo-in for the Olympics, not just because the Federation really wants it, but because she is proving herself. She is being consistent, she's proving that she can be trusted at competitions, she's being stable, she's being solid, and she's being joyous. What more can I ask of this girl? Like, every time I look at a picture of her, I'm just like, yes! I'm just happy for you. I'm happy that you're happy. There's something about her. I don't know what it is, but I love her. Also, does anyone else think that her free costume looks like a Marvel costume? Or was I the only one? But yeah, I mean, you gotta keep in mind that this competition did not have the three big faces that literally were on the poster: Yuzuru, Rika, and Trusova. So the result would have been way different. Yuzuru would have obviously been on the podium. I think June would have been off. Trusova hopefully would have been on the podium. You know, sometimes when Trusova has off days, they're really off. You know, it's kind of like a domino effect. So she hopefully would have been on the podium. And then Rika, we don't really know because we haven't seen her in so long. And all of them are due to injury, which just adds insult to injury, pun intended, watching Daria literally get injured in the 6-minute warm-up over something that I believe could have been avoided. That is not an injury you just get out of doing a bad fall. You don't get a hip fracture. You know how hard it is to injure your hip when you're young? At 15, it was definitely a problem that was not taken care of, and it exploded, and it was not until she literally fractured her hip that anybody cared to check up on it. Anyways, I'm not gonna rant again about this, but yes, this NHK was bittersweet because we had beautiful performances. We kind of gave more spotlight to faces who would have been overshadowed by the big names missing here, but at the same time, you couldn't help but miss them. And the fact that they were missing for reasons that can be very severe during an Olympic year kind of just makes everybody anxious and worried and antsy. And seeing Daria go through that live kind of reminded everyone how serious these injuries that have these big players missing can be. So it was like a kind of wake-up call for all of us. You know, there was a lot of tweets about, is this Squid Game when that figure skating become a competition of who can be injured less? Like, and that is sport to some degree, but what is happening right now somewhat different than that. And for that specific situation, I already said what I believe, but for the others, like Yuzuru and Rika, I just hope that they can take care of their bodies enough to perform this season at the best of their abilities, but also take care of their body first, because in the long term, they're the ones who have to live with their body and the injuries that they retain, whether they treat them or not. And yeah, bittersweet and terrifying at the same time, because it made us all think about things that are kind of the ugly underbelly of figure skating, which are injuries that can be career-ending if not treated properly and if the coaches don't look out for you. But Shoma, Kaori, even Machina and Galliamo, everybody at this competition really kind of showed us why we love this sport and why we should still support, regardless of how dangerous and scary it can be. And yeah, that's all I have to say about NHK Trophy. I'm sure you will let me know what you think about everything in the comments. As always, shout out to Natalia, Leslie, Scotty, Timothy, Jordan, Antonio Manzaga, and Maria, the new one. Did I miss anyone? There's so many names now that I'm scared I missed someone. Natalia, Leslie, Jordan, Scotty, Timothy. Did I say Scotty before? Jordan, Antonio, and and Maria. I think I got all my children. If you want a shout out, you can become a VIP Patreon. The links are down below for my Twitter, my Patreon, and my merch store. Shout out to Mara on Twitter who got her hoodie and it looks so good. And as always, I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.